You're going to say hello?
Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Apologies for the pause there. There's Alan behind the camera pressing play and he hadn't given me a thumbs up to let me know that we were live.
I did.
It's so lovely to see you this evening.
Yes.
Now the first thing we're going to put out there right before we start is third time lucky.
Well, I just saw myself in the picture and realised how bad I was looking. I'm so sorry.
Third time lucky. We are hoping this week the tech is going to work for us.
Yes, we had 2 really bad weeks of tech, so we're ever so sorry. It's obviously our problem and stupidity and everything else, but we're pretty confident we've solved it. So if you can hear us, please do give us a thumbs up or a smiley face. If you can't hear us, then give us a thumbs down or a bad, an unhappy face. I have to do the YouTube bit first because we're on YouTube. Please do subscribe to our channel. There's a little Outside Bride logo bottom left about here. You can click on that and that will take you to subscribe now after the video, or just go through to our channel later on and click subscribe. We really want to grow this. When we get to 100, we get to pick our own YouTube name, which is fab. And obviously we're going on for millions, Rodney. What's the other thing? And a thumbs up would be nice, please. If you enjoy what we waffle about this evening on Outdoor Weddings, please give us a thumbs up. That would be fab.
So for those of you who are new to the Outside Bride, never stumbled across us before, and this is your first ever viewing of our live session, welcome. My name's Emily. This is my husband Alan. Alan, look at the camera.
Hello. You know I'm doing tech stuff. We'll explain
and
that.
We
part.
are the founders of the Outside Bride, which is a bridal blog all about outdoor weddings.
Yes.
We've been going for just over a year, and every single week we do this live Ask an Expert session where we answer your questions, big or small, about any aspect of your outdoor wedding. We're still new to putting this on YouTube, so hence why we talk about the slight technical issues we've had.
Yes.
As we've migrated from Facebook to YouTube. If you're listening on podcast, this is a completely irrelevant information anyway, but I hope you're listening and enjoying wherever you are in the world.
That was it. For those on podcast, we're drinking dry white wine tonight.
It's not good.
No, it's really not good.
It's not good wine.
No. Right.
Right. So, how have we been this week, Alan?
We've had a fab week actually, haven't we? We've had loads of questions in the Outside Bride Facebook group.
It's almost as though Christmas is finally just dwindled away and you've gone, oh yeah, we're getting married this year.
Yeah.
We must start getting organised with our wedding planning.
As someone mentioned earlier, that they're getting married in July and they're disorganised. I'm like, you've got 7 months to go, but I understand the panic.
6 now, because we're now in February tomorrow.
True point. True point. Is that even English? Valid point. It's 30th of January, so yes, 6 months to go. So,
which, if you're just engaged and you're intending on having a summer 2019 wedding, congratulations. It is completely doable as long as you're organised. If you've been engaged for 18 months and you're suddenly realising it getting married this year, might be worth starting to get some things in action. So without further ado, we've had a couple of questions this week. If you are watching this live on YouTube, please do feel free to add your questions as we go. We've got about half an hour to discuss things.
Even if you're a supplier and you just wanted to add a little bit of food for thought or something you've been asked around, please join in. You know, we would absolutely love that.
It's a community. Not just us talking at people, and we love to interact. So
collaboration, not competition.
Whatever.
Yeah, I know. It was something else.
Doesn't matter how big, how small. It might be, I'm getting married, I've never done this before. Where do I start? It might be a little detail about where to lay cables for your lighting, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what the question is, big or small. If it's niggling on your brain and you just need someone to walk it through with you, chuck it down in the comments below and we'll see if we can help you.
Yes.
Right, so we've had 2 main questions, 2 quite large questions this week from brides within our Facebook group, The Outside Bride. If you haven't joined yet, feel free to join us on the Outside Bride Facebook group. We're a lovely community of people all getting married or talking through outdoor weddings.
We're already married.
We're already married, yeah. You'll do for my first husband.
It's full of people getting married. Funny enough, I found myself thinking about my second wife today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
How is she? Is she nice?
Well, yeah, she's lovely, thanks.
Oh, good.
Right, so what did Joe ask?
Joe South was discussing the layout of her marquee, and she's having a rectangular marquee, standard marquee.
Clear span or multi-span, usually that is called.
Maybe.
Could be a traditional.
We don't know if she's having traditional.
No, fair point.
However, having a rectangular shaped marquee and is concerned about the layout with elderly guests, not necessarily wanting to be right near the hustle and bustle or the dance floor, music, bar area of the evening, and how to compartmentalise the space to make sure that everyone's happy and not feeling like they've got Rage Against the Machines, if that's what you're choosing to play at your wedding, like bounding against the old people who might want a cup of tea and have a bit of a chat. So there are things you can do to mitigate against that. Number one, depends on the size of your marquee really and the style you're going for.
Well, I'd say it's one of those things. There's actually quite a lot involved in this answer, so it really depends on what your music is, which direction your speakers are facing. You know, how many guests you've got. If you've got 300 guests and you've got a 30-metre marquee, then all you need is to put them at the tables at the opposite end, and actually that's problem solved. And if it's smaller than that, then you know, there were some fab suggestions in the group. I know you're going to mention some of them. So yeah.
First thing I would say to get the ball rolling is, people, especially our generation, people who are getting married, always worry about every single guest and how they're going to be on your wedding. Now, my grandparents and stuff, and your grandparents, are somewhat, God rest their souls.
Well, I'd say they weren't at our wedding.
Had they been at a wedding, are actually they're more than happy to get involved in the hustle and bustle. And yes, it may not be their cup of tea, but ultimately they're there to see you get married.
That is it, isn't it? The older we get, the more we realise that the old people just enjoy seeing the younger people having fun. I know that sounds bizarre, but they do. So
you can start worrying about your layout, make sure there's a designated old people's area. Will they be even fine with you designating an area for the number one? Or do they actually want to get involved and be able to watch the fun and see you enjoying yourselves and ultimately seeing their grandchildren, you know, have the best day of their lives? So don't worry too much. It's one day, one little day that if it's not quite comfortable for them, they will get over it the next day. They're not going to be like, that was horrible. I hate it.
Far from it, aren't they?
But if you do want to make some provision to make sure that they're having more of a comfortable time and enjoying themselves, definitely, as Alan says, put them at the other end to where the dance floor is. If you are having directional speakers, there are such a thing as directional speakers that Alan's talked about in many other Ask an Experts.
And planning sessions, we talk
about where the speakers themselves, and if you're getting involved with an AV company who are putting all together the sound for your wedding, they are directional at that. They spot onto the dance floor, and as soon as you step away from the dance floor, you can't hear much at all. It's really, really muted.
Yeah, we know a venue where they're compulsory as part of their planning, don't we? And that's where we first discovered them about 7 years ago.
Now, we appreciate that's not for everyone, the budget's not for everyone, and that might be something that you can't, it's not within your band or DJs, sort of how they can bring on their AV stuff, but it's something to think about. Other things you can do, and again within the group, people talked about it, bringing in some nice soft furnishings.
Well, there's a couple of thoughts here. I put my what's that?
And furniture, so not.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was putting my used to own a marquee company hat on for a moment, and a couple of things we've done over the years and seen done is, you know, if you're getting married in the middle of summer and it's looking beautiful, it's very easy to build an outdoor veranda on a marquee. I mean, it sounds complicated, it's not, it's really simple. So it could be a veranda with some sofas on at the opposite end. You know, it could be that if you're using not an L shape, like an off-centre T, and the tail of the T is the bar area, there's no reason why you can't make it more of a U, and then the other one is, if that makes sense, is the chill out area. There's so many options. You know, it might be that, I think Joe, the same lady, mentioned weather. You know, she did talk about it getting cold at sort of 10 o'clock, and I know someone in the group wrote, look, when there's 100, actually it was someone we know watches Ask an Expert regularly, and we say this all the time, but if you've got 100 plus people dancing, it will not be cold in your marquee. No. It just won't be, you know. But if they're on a veranda, then yeah, blankets might be nice, and some marquee heaters, some safe heaters, safe whatever.
Depends on the style and theme of your wedding. I mean, in a hopefully balmy July evening, you know, the sides of the marquee will be rolled up because it's lovely. And if you have anything like the 2018 summit that we had last year, it was really, really warm right up until 10, 11 o'clock at night. People are sitting outside, they're mingling, there might be a fire pit if that's what you're having. You know, there are options outside of the marquee. It really wasn't very cold in the evenings, and people do forget that actually, if you do get a summer like last year...
Well, we had a lot of what we call balmy evenings, didn't we? We had a lot.
I mean, they're not like, as I remember being as a kid, you know, just going to bed sleeping in a sheet kind of hot. Do you remember that as a kid?
No, I do, but I can never remember if that's just kid perception, because that did happen. But it's kid perception. Bear in mind, this is so boring. Our bedroom's actually really quite cold at night. I know. So I'm not going to bore people with our bedroom.
Anyhow,
it's cold in our bedroom.
So the other part, so Joe asked about the layouts, and you can obviously look at hiring in sofas. There are companies out there who do bring in all that kind of stuff for you as part. You might find part of your marquee package that they have extra things they can hire in.
Or Gumtree. There's a lot of Gumtree, FaceBay.
Yeah,
It's not called FaceBay, is it? Facebook Marketplace. Yeah.
I would strongly suggest not putting dividers up. That was put into the conversation today about putting dividers up in the marquee, because I find the same if we're going to a wedding that's at a hotel with several different rooms. Actually, by putting barriers up and dividers in quite a nice open space, you find you lose people a little bit, and you create little pockets of rooms rather than one communal space where everyone's enjoying
it's
together.
so true, isn't it? We've always said this about an outdoor wedding. One of the hugest benefits is you've got everyone in one place. When you're in a hotel or venue, you could have a bar area, a dining room, and a dance area. What's that called? A dance floor?
Dance floor.
I can't remember what it's called. So your 150 guests, all of a sudden, what's that divided by 3? 50. Oh my goodness.
It's been a long day.
No, it has not been a long day. That's right. All of a sudden, you've only actually got roughly 50 guests in each of those 3 locations. Whereas one of the amazing things about a wedding is the hubbub and enjoyment of all being there together.
Yeah. The last thing on Joe's question, she put it into 3 sections, was what's the weather contingency for you if you just have a marquee? Now that is really, really simple, because unless you are having gale force winds, storms, thunder and lightning, chances are, the marquee is going to stay rigid in one place. And we have been to a wedding a couple of years ago. Our friend Andrew Mike got married in there.
Oh yes.
And they were on the New Forest Showground, where they'd had the New Forest show the week before, a couple of weeks before, and literally the ground was just squid, and they had to change fields, and it was all horrendous. However, the marquee itself was bomb-proof, and they had flooring down, and depending on what your flooring options are, if you're going with suspended wooden floor underneath any carpet or coir matting, that's really not an issue because you're raised off the ground. That's something you can discuss with your marquee provider in the weeks, because you'll know what the weather roughly is going to be in the weeks leading up to your wedding. You'll just know. Obviously, that doesn't explain for freak weather incidents and things that aren't coming up, but you'll have a rough idea in the week. If you're, for example, an April wedding, if March and the first half of April's been really, really soggy, that's when you have a conversation with your marquee provider going, what's the backup plan?
Well, this is what I was going to say, and we've talked about this a lot in the past 4, and it's never a problem bringing it up. When you get a marquee, when you're getting a quote for a marquee and you say, I've got 100 guests, your supplier will go, you need this size. Always go slightly bigger than you want. Now, even if the weather is bone dry and amazing, you're still going to want space for a table for the cake, for a table for cards and everything else. If it's raining, then you have that extra space. Trust us, impartial experts, you want the slightly bigger marquee. The other thing to do is, and I don't know if this was mentioned actually, I'm now thinking, is when you do your marquee layout and you have the entrance to the marquee, you want the entrance to the marquee in the dance area. So if it is raining, that then becomes your dry area, your canapes, etc. I mean, don't worry about the dance floor getting wet, because if it's raining that bad, you're going to have to mop it up anyway. So it's kind of one of those things. And then if you wanted to, you could get a post and rope between that now welcome drink area and the seating area, or there's such things called reveal curtains, and there's loads of other things you can do. Actually, there's not a lot more basic post and ropes or reveal curtains.
The thing is, if you are being forced into your marquee sooner than you are ready in your original plan, if you've laid out your tables and chairs and your formal area, if that's what you're having, to be ready for a certain time, what you don't want to happen is the fact that everyone's come into the marquee earlier than you've originally planned for their canapes, welcome drinks, whatever, and then they've all gone wandering through the tables to go and find their seat and put their coat on and look at the favours on the table and move this around, because you might not be ready for that part of the day.
Start touching stuff that you've spent however many months planning.
So if you know in the lead up to your wedding that actually the weather is going to be dire and you're going to be stuck in the marquee as soon as your guests arrive, I would strongly suggest, as Alan's just said, speak to your marquee supplier. Can they put that reveal curtain in? It may not be something you want to do. It might be too much money in your budget, but post and rope, some metal post and rope.
I'm just trying to think of something a bit more rustic. You might have some barrels being used in the bar area that you could, your working team, your helping team, your bride.
Even if you needed to put a bit of a ribbon together, like when you cut a ribbon, say, and now it's open. Just Just
to
something
keep it.
that shows your guests, no, you shall not pass until you're ready for them to, because you don't want all your hard work to be lost just because the weather's decided it's going to change its idea.
I know we finished this.
Yeah.
Delay reaction. We've had 2 thumbs up. Thanks. I've only just seen them. Thank you. Right.
Other things with weather is not to panic, because like I said, with a marquee, they tend to be bomb-proof, and unless you've got gale force winds, then you might need to address how you're going to deal with that. But once everything's in, once everyone's in, the good thing about having wet weather on your wedding day is that it really encourages everyone to stay in one place.
Yes. Yeah.
And
look at the positives.
Yeah, when you find an outdoor wedding or marquee when your sides are up and everyone's floating around the grass and having a lovely time in the evening, you tend to lose people a little bit, and it's not a problem. That's just how it goes. But when you have the rain coming down, everyone's in, the doors get shut. You light a couple of tea lights. It becomes a bit more sort of, magical in my opinion. Sometimes. And it just encourages people to be in one place and mingle. And once
it's like, think back to the kid, we talked about that, like when you're in a caravan when it was raining when you were 8 years old and you all sat there playing cards round a candle.
Yeah.
None of us probably did that, by the way, but it's a bit like that, isn't it? It just becomes a bit more intimate and personal and fun.
The only thing I would say, if you know it's going to be bad weather and your suppliers are moving in for the setup, is to think about where you can logically place things like temporary toilet blocks, for example. If it's going to be pouring it down with rain for the day and everyone's staying in the marquee, fine. People are still going to have to go and visit the little ladies' little men's room. They're going to have to do that. So what if you are planning your toilets to be on the other side of a field or woodland area? That's quite a long stomp for people to get to, and it might be a bit muddy. Can you think logically about your placement of these things? Can you bring your toilet blocks closer to the marquee, maybe behind the marquee? Can you open up a side so there's a very short distance for people to walk? Can you put any extra coconut matting down to make more of a walkway? And again, if you're talking to your supplier, that might be something they can bring in at last minute, just to make sure people aren't stomping around in the rain getting muddy. Putting a basket full of brollies if you're going to have to force through that. I did. I'm so sorry.
Just kick the camera. Sorry, podcasters. You kick the camera.
I'm really sorry. My big.
Right, come on. We've answered Joe South. We're going round now.
Think about wet weather. What you can do to mitigate against
umbrellas.
it. Umbrellas.
There's so much. There's so much. I should just say, planning sessions. There's a whole module on adverse weather. It's module 5, I think, which is going to be for sale pretty soon as a standalone module.
Yeah. And that covers wet weather, cold weather, and hot weather, because you have exactly the same issues when it's baking hot than you do when it's cold as well. So
just go to the Outside Bride and click on the planning sessions link for more about the planning sessions.
Nice plug there, Braithwaite. Nice plug.
Thank you very much.
And then the second question we have tonight is from Becca O'Neill.
Well, we sort of talked about this, so it's that It's, sorry, so you should explain what the question is.
So Becca on the Facebook group today put a drawing, a lovely drawing, might I add. I loved the fact that you'd really thought about where everything was being placed, but it was a not quite to scale drawing of their proposed wedding layout, and would it be sufficient? Is it okay? Would it work? And Alan, could you just get it up on screen? Becca's picture. Now the question in hand was...
If you want to see a picture, just go and join the Outside Bride Facebook group.
Now the question in hand is an outdoor wedding. It's beautiful. I've seen the pictures of the venue and I'm really jealous. I would love to go and visit it one day. I think it's towards the Oxfordshire direction. It's a layout of the marquee, some staging areas.
Well, let's go and visit it.
Let's go and visit it.
Oxfordshire's south, that's fine. Not that we have a problem going north, it's just it's a bit nearer.
There's some outdoor caterers, there's a bouncy castle in this picture, there is the bar area, toilet blocks, and then there's a camping area as well for anyone who's...
She's having a full-on festival, isn't she?
It's amazing, it looks amazing. Some things to consider. She was asking with the picture, does the proposed layout look okay? Does it work? Does the flow work okay? And any opinions on that? I had some thoughts. I've already discussed a few with Becca today. But actually, what it did flag was a couple of really good things in terms of flow of your wedding and also power to your wedding and what things might need power on your field. So, for example, if you're going to have a complete open plan grass space, it could be a woodland, it could be a field, it could be a garden. It doesn't really matter, but going by the size and scale of what Becca's got in her picture, there's quite a lot going on. And what I would say is, in terms of generators and power, think about when you're looking at your layout and where you want to place things, think about if you are completely off the grid and you are having to bring a generator in to power those things, look at the flow and look at where you're going to need to draw power from. I was at a wedding last year, and Sylvie's in our Facebook group and she won't mind me talking about it, had an amazing wedding, but it was large. The space of the wedding was large.
Well, she had 10,000 guests, didn't
It might as well have been 10,000 guests. There was the French contingent, there was the Jamaican contingent, there was the UK.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. But it was a full-on weekend festival. It was Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It was a 3-day amazing Wedfest. But the field was a campsite and it was spread over a massive site. Now, to think about what's drawing power. So you might have caterers drawing power. They may bring their own power source. It would be fantastic if they do, but they may need to plug into something. You might have a bar that needs to plug into something.
Sorry, it's one of those things when you're talking electricity. I know, apologies for interrupting. That when they go, well, it's only 20 metres or something like that. 20 metres of cable is actually quite a lot of cable.
Yeah.
And 20 metres in an open field isn't actually that far.
No.
Yes.
No.
Sorry, Emily.
Then you've got lighting in your marquee that you might need. You might want some spotlights by a lovely oak tree over there, and you might have, if you're choosing to, you might decide that actually you want a pan tent if you have it camping and you want to plug some straighteners in over there. And you've got showers over there and a temporary loo block over there. And all.
Ooh, sorry, I just caught my toes. Keep going.
Oh right, okay.
Sorry.
You might find that bouncy castles, again, they might have their own power source, that's not necessarily a problem. But all of a sudden, you've got a lot of things that may not be drawing a lot of power all at once, and they may not be switched on. But the directions in which you're putting things are actually quite a distance. For example, again, I use Becca's drawing. You've got a field, you've got your campsite right over here, and you've got your marquee all over here. And both sets need to have power. That's quite a lot. That could be over 100 metres worth of cabling.
Well, I was going to say that. We did a wedding with my marquee hat on many years ago who said, are you able... So the venue had a loo shower block in just in another field. And they said, we've been told we can use that, but we need to put power into it. Yeah. Can you run power to it? And we said, well, your generator is going to be here and it has to be here because of X, Y, Z. And we measured it and it was something like 80 metres. So we went and got a cable made up for the right length. But actually, new problems arose because when you have a cable that long, I'm not an expert on electricity, but when you have a cable that long, there's new issues. Yeah. So we did it, but actually it brought up slightly new problems. So
things to work on in terms of making that simpler is thinking about what's going to need the power. Not everything will need power necessarily. So when you look at your layout and think of the flow of where things are, can you put things on one side? So if you've got your marquee in one place and you've got an outdoor band and an outdoor stage, putting them side by side rather than having the stage on the opposite side of your event site, and making sure that with the same breath, you've got a temporary shower block and temporary loo block on the other side of the marquee. So it becomes more of an arc on one side rather than having things dotted either side of your venue. Otherwise you're going to be crossing cables everywhere and that becomes trip hazards. You're going to have to then think about what's it called when you put the matting on top of it?
Cable matting.
Cable matting, track matting, something to go on it so people don't start.
Where did we see a clever track matting solution recently?
The Showman's Show, we saw some.
We saw something that was ridiculously clever. What was it? It was easy. I'm really sorry.
Think about it and come back to us.
I'm so sorry.
And the other thing to think about, if you're having a weekend celebration and you are having, you know for a fact that you're going to have power in the camping area, you want power in the marquee area, you want power over there. Think about, rather than hiring one massive generator, which you may think is more cost effective because it's a big mother hubbard generator, but then you have to spend lots of money getting cabling sorted. Look at maybe potentially ordering 2 separate smaller generators on separate ends of the site. You might find that actually the cost is not much in the difference really, but you won't have to worry about cables going everywhere. You can have one that's designated for the residential side of your site, one's going to be for the party end of your site, and actually you don't cross cables.
And let's not forget, I mean, this is not the best option for power, but solar lighting is obviously an option and everything else.
Anything that's battery powered that's going to help you will be amazing really as well. But don't worry about it. If you're talking to a generator supplier who's coming along, it might be just worth saying, this is our layout, what do you think? They'll probably ask you, and it will be more pressing to make sure you've got more of a scale drawing so you know exactly the size of the field.
That's the first thing they're going to want to know is how far.
Because with all the greats, if you have a hand drawn, this is what I think is going to happen. Actually, your marquee becomes. I'm using a 6 inch rule for anyone on the podcast.
Insert jokes. Yeah.
This is it. But actually, on a scale model, your marquee looks exactly the same size as your 5 metre Belton, and
And
they're
you
not.
might
They're
have
not
a
the same.
30 metre
Yeah.
marquee and a
So
6 metre
work
Belton.
it out if you can, and you're trying to work out the scale. Go onto Google, get yourself a Google map of the area you're getting married in, and see if you can just start to place things on that grass space, and you can see it and you can lay it out, and you'll start to see how big that scale is. It's nothing to worry about. Your suppliers will be able to advise you, but it's one of those things you need to have a conversation with before the day before your wedding, because they might be coming further afield and only have 50 metres of cabling because that's what they're thinking they're supplying for, when actually you have an entire extravaganza waiting to be powered, and they're not ready for it.
Right. That's the
that,
2 questions for today.
I hope that makes sense.
Any of our watchers that want to ask a question? No, feel free.
So the only other 2 things today, I put a question in the Outside Bride group today. I'm just curious, really, aside from outdoor weddings, which we know you are always searching for on Instagram and Facebook, we'd love to know, just as an aside, what do you search for on Instagram when you're not looking at weddings?
Well, I do. There's an interesting question, isn't there? Like, do you search on Instagram or do you just get offered things?
Well, that's a very good question, Alan.
So my follows are generally running, cars, and a bit of general fitness, plus friends, etc., and companies I like. What gets offered to me is generally cars, extreme fitness, and I'm trying to think. Adventure. I do a lot of adventure. We like adventure, don't
Just
we?
curious, really. We're exploring the inner workings of Instagram recently, and
Well, let's not beat around the bush.
We're making sure that we're appealing to the right people in the right ways, and
because basically we'll put a hashtag in, won't we? Let's say DIY bride, but do any of our brides put the hashtag DIY bride in, or are they all writing hashtag adventure?
Or apparently dogs of Instagram.
Dogs of Instagram.
Dogs of
Everyone's
Instagram.
into
Seriously,
dogs.
if we had a dash on right now, we would be.
Do we need to just buy a dog to progress our business?
So many people we know, we follow, have dogs of Instagram, and they are multimillionaires right now because they're dogs.
Yes. Fair
If
play.
only we'd gone down that route.
I don't want a dog.
No, nor do I.
No, that's
It's
fine.
okay.
We've got 3 kids for the moment. They're still too young.
They're not like dogs.
No, I know, but I'm saying is that, like, we got a 5, a 3, and a 1. They're still too young for me to consider introducing a dog into our world as well.
Okay, good. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
It
move
was
on.
nice to know we're on the
And
same
then
page.
the last thing we're going to talk about today, guys, is a general shout out. If you are getting married in 2019 and you happen to be in the...
Question, when did we start saying, not we, but like the media, start saying 2019 rather than 2019? I think that's only happened in the past few years. I think we used to say 2000, and then since we've been in like the teens, it's become 20.
It's a really boring story. Thanks for interrupting.
So my other thought on this is, because I'm a bit of an overthinker, is it easier to say 20 than 2000? 2019.
2019
Thoughts,
is easier.
please. What do you think it's easier to say?
And feel free to say no one cares. That's
no one
okay.
cares, Alan.
That's
Right.
okay.
Anyway, so I'll do this because this is my project. This is my
Okay,
project.
carry on.
What we're looking for brides and grooms having outdoor weddings in the. Look, we're going to be honest. We live near Southampton, so in the short term, we're looking for these weddings to be within the vicinity, an hour's driving from us. So that's Bournemouth and Dorset, along to Chichester and
West
West
Sussex,
Sussex,
Berkshire, Surrey,
yeah,
Wiltshire.
that's what we're looking for. We're looking for outdoor weddings that are a little bit unique, a little bit different, perhaps. No, I'm not talking about you've got llamas there different. I'm talking perhaps beautiful is a better word than
Basically,
different.
as a way of helping you guys plan your weddings, we would absolutely love to be visiting some of our 2019 outside brides and grooms. To see your setups mainly.
We're doing some video.
Yeah, we're not talking about being there on your actual wedding day. However,
No.
I do love a 3-course sit down.
Feel free to
I would
invite us to
happily
your
come
wedding.
along to your wedding, but we appreciate that you may not want to spend money on 2 people you've never met before.
They met us. They've seen it 50 weeks in a row. We're not in a row.
We
We've
would,
been on YouTube.
we would absolutely love to start coming along to some of your setup days, maybe the Thursday, maybe the Friday if you're having a Saturday wedding, just to see what you're up to, what your vision was, how you've executed it, and if you've got any top tips for how you found planning your outdoor wedding. If you're one of those people and you feel that you might be the right fit for the outside bride and you would love to meet myself Or probably Alan in the Hawaiian shirt, maybe. But if you'd
I'll have a haircut and a beard tidy up by then. I am looking particularly scruffy and I didn't realise it.
if it happens to be April, May, June, even into the summer, we would love to hear
Yeah,
from
we're
you.
just looking at the start of the season for the
kick it
moment.
off.
So it does seem that no one is getting married in the having an outdoor wedding in April in the south of England, which is very interesting because the weather in April for the past few years has been amazing. So you may be missing out, April people.
Doesn't matter. 2020. If you've just got engaged at Christmas, consider April. It's a lovely month.
My peak months would be April
Or September.
That is what I would do.
September's a great month.
Well,
Good thing we got married in September.
September the 15th.
Well done.
Yeah. Right, I think that's it. Let's draw a line under it. Not that it matters, but we've just hit 8:30, so I think let everyone go and watch whatever they want to watch on TV.
Thank you so much for watching this evening. We hope it's been of some
watchers.
value to you.
Watchers, please say hi. We'd love to know who's watching. Or
it's going to be Alan's mum, isn't it? Hi, Shirley.
This is true. We did a test the other week, and my mum was watching, and I didn't realise she was watching. I said to Emily, I reckon this is my mum. And then she rang me afterwards and went, Alan, I was trying to talk back to you. Bless her.
Bless her heart.
Actually, she's really good with tech, so I shouldn't take the mickey.
So just a quick reminder, if you're watching on YouTube this evening, please do feel free to subscribe to the channel down below. And if you'd like to give us a thumbs up, that is always appreciated. We love to see your thumbs up and any comments, even if it's after this live video. If
you know what I'd like to see?
What would you like to see?
Pictures of people watching us. So if you're watching us and
you can't do that on YouTube.
Of course they can. So if they're watching on the computer or the TV, they can get their phone and do a selfie of us and them. And I would love that. So, like, tag us in it, wherever it is, or put it in. You telling me you don't? I think that's brilliant.
I would love to see your photos of
Okay,
you having
I
a selfie
would like
with
to
us.
see a selfie with us, please.
Right.
All right. Thanks very much.
See you later.
Bye.
I'm going to do that awkward thing where I keep waving now because Alan has